Now people are filing in. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Oh, shalom. Yes. All right. We've got a good 23 people already. And hopefully a few more will continue to drift in. Oh, yep. I see two more drifting in. Welcome. All right. So it's 5:03. We're gonna get started. We have Torah study tonight. This is a regular Parsha, Kabbalist Parsha study. And if you want to dedicate your study tonight to someone or some cause in particular, you can go ahead and do so by putting it in the chat. This is Parsha Matot and Masei. It's a double Parsha. Sometimes there's a double Parsha because the lunar and the solar calendar have to kind of sync up, and we've got to cram them all in there. This is the last, Masei is the last part of Numbers. And we get to say something very special at the end of it when we get to the end of Numbers. It's be strong, and may we be strengthened. Chazak, chazak, benis hazak. Right? So we get to say that. Yeah. So go ahead and put your dedication in if you want to dedicate. And today, if you have questions, you can either raise your hand or put it in the chat. And Parsha Matot, or Matos if you're Sephardic, starts at chapter 30, not Book of Numbers, chapter 30, verse 2. And Matot, I believe, well, Rabbi and I were just discussing it, whether or not it means leader, or whether or not it means it can sometimes mean a stick that has become separated from the branch and now has become a leader. What are the other thoughts about, head of the tribe?
That's usually what it's translated as tribes. And Masei is translated usually as journeys.
Journeys, right. Journeys. Yeah. And so it's an interesting, this is an interesting parsha. Well, they're all pretty interesting, of course. And let's maybe Rabbi will start with the blessing, and we'll go from there. Amen. Amen. All right. So, yeah, these are wonderful dedications for justice, for the safety of the Druze. Yes, we need that. The safety of the Druze, your sister's health, the head of the tribe, for if someone else has back pain, and their own health, and for surgery. That happens. All of those are speaking to me personally right now, actually. And oh, look at that. Dedicating tonight's Parsha to the 9 women and 3 infants now living at the house where I work. So prayers. Yes, many prayers. So lots of prayers out there. So let's talk a little bit about this double toil and trouble Parsha. It's interesting. This is a real section about mostly about vows and oaths. And we've talked about the differences between vows and oaths and conditional curses, right? And things like that. It's interesting. I don't think that in Judaism that there is ever a commandment to make a vow. There is only a commandment, as far as I know, to follow the vow that you make. But I don't think that there's any commandments to make vows. Do you know of any, Rabbi?
Of what?
Do you know of any commandments to make a vow? I believe there's commandments to keep vows, but I don't think there's any commandments.
No. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking of is basically, that's not about an oath, a shavua. In the case of a crime with Adam, the witnesses,
That's to keep your vow, right? To keep your vow to tell the truth.
Right. Actually, making a shavua, an oath, is forbidden. One is not supposed to make it. One is not even supposed to make a promise. That's what we always say. We promise something. We say bli neder.
Bli neder.
Bli neder means without a promise. And of course, on Yom Kippur, we during the Esi Yemei Tshuva, the Yemim Narayim, the 10 days starting with Rosh Hashanah, ending in Yom Kippur, we have to do Hetras Nedarim to release ourselves from vow. And then what do we start with? We start with the Kol Nidre, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Kol Nidre, to be released from vows, and that we should be released from all Nidre, Nedarim, promises, because any promises we made that we didn't keep. We're not supposed to make beforehand. We're not supposed to make promises. We're supposed to always say bli neder, without a promise, because you never know. There can be extenuating circumstances that intervene and prevent us from keeping our word. The idea. So people that don't understand this will say, "Oh, that sounds like a cop out. It sounds like you don't want to keep your word." No, it's adarabah. It's the very opposite. It's because we take the idea of making a commitment so seriously that we say, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm obligated to do it. It shouldn't be that I have to make a promise. Your word is your word. But when you make a neder, then it becomes a contract. Like if you violate it, you're violating a contract with Hashem. So the idea,
and there's a whole. I think there's a whole. Is it a Talmudic? Or it might be from the Shulchan Aruch. I can't remember which. I'm sure you'll know about, like, whether or not, like, a husband who makes a vow to because he's going on a trip, and if he doesn't come back within a certain period of days,
that's so the woman isn't left in a gunah.
Right. So
the woman is not left in a gunah, that she doesn't know what happened to her husband, and now she can't get remarried. Right. And where do we find that? The famous story with David HaMelech and Uriah, right? The Hittite, David HaMelech. Because it was, why do they say it wasn't an Avera? Of course, David HaMelech himself said, "My sin is always before me." But the Chazal, the Meforshim, the explanation is that King David did not commit really a sin. I say, well, wait a minute, how did he not commit a sin? I mean, he's sending this woman's husband into battle, and then he's taking her for himself. I mean, how is that not a sin? Well, they explained that it was a provisional divorce or get was given to the woman before the husband would go into battle. So technically, she was permitted to King David because of that provisional divorce that was given before her husband went into battle. Still in all, for someone in the position of a king, it wasn't a very good optic. So it was a sin maybe for King David, but it wasn't really that he was violating any halacha, any Jewish law.
Well, I think all of this emphasis on vows and oaths, right, which is the whole first part of Matot. If you look at the summary in the Stone edition, it just says okay, on the, if you're reading the Stone edition, there's a little commentary on the, and a little commentary is like a one line sentence, a summary of what's actually going on, and their one sentence, which is right here and goes for another page all the way down to here, is literally is vows and oaths. Like that's how much that part is talking about vows and oaths. And I think vows and oaths are given tremendous importance in Judaism because of the idea that words manifest reality and that words are holy and that words matter and that this is, I mean, we go back to the daughters in the last Parsha, right? Who appear in this Parsha again, I think. The daughters that don't want their father's name to be erased, right? It's all about words and letters and sounds being the driver of bringing something, a reality, into existence.
Yeah. Another important thing I should mention, I wanted to make a Kol Nidre, which is Kol Nidre is the prayer. It means all vows. Kol in Hebrew, all Nidre vows, and we start
Nidre from netter.
Right, a netter. That's what we say, bli netter. Exactly.
Bli netter.
So when we start the Yom Kippur service, which
Yom Kippur is
Day of Atonement.
the Day of Atonement, right? Which comes right, and then you have Rosh Hashanah, the New Year. So these are these holidays that are coming in quick succession and are related to each other and very important. And so so
you have an entire month. You have an entire month there, and like an entire month period there where me as an Orthodox Jew, I won't work on those days. And it's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Then you have Sukkot, which is 2 days, then Simchat Torah, and it's like the period of time between Rosh Hashanah, which is the New Year, and Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, is called Eser Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of repentance, or it's also called Yomim Narayim, the days of awe, AWE. The days of awe, they refer to it, Yomim Narayim or Eser Yemei Tshuva. Anyway, it starts with the Kol Nidre, and Kol Nidre means all vows. But I'm just Googling this, honestly. It says Kol Nidre means all vows. It is an annulment of the prior year's vows that were, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, made unwittingly, rashly, or unknowingly.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows the Jewish people to formally free themselves of prior obligations so they may start the new year fresh. So they have to be made either unwittingly, rashly, or unknowingly. So there's an addendum to that. You can't just go around making vows and promises. And the idea is that many people from other faiths will understandably misunderstand this. Because if I'm reading it, I'm saying, oh, this seems like a real cop-out. You mean somebody who's Jewish can give you their word and just do this Kol Nidre bowl and get off the hook?
And so it's basically like holding your fingers, crossing your fingers behind your back or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not really what it means. What it actually means is that we take the idea of giving our word so seriously. It's like there are two types of mitzvot, which are religious commandments in Judaism. And we divide them. The Taryag mitzvot, which refers to the 613 commandments. And then you have mitzvot aseh, the positive, and
positive ones,
the negative. And then it's divided into what they call mitzvot beinanam lamakom. Mitzvot beinanam lamakom are the obligations between us and God, and mitzvot beinanam lachavera, which are the laws that govern our relationship with our fellow human beings, and
animals,
right?
Our fellow living things,
right? I mean, people don't really realize, but I mean, the idea of people for the ethical treatment of animals, PETA. The Torah beat them by thousands and thousands of years. I I mean, it's all over the Torah. You can't yoke the shore and the chamor, the ox and the donkey, because they graze at different rates. And then so the mitzvah of Abraham Achai, not to take a limb from a living creature, which might sound barbaric today, but back then it wasn't so barbaric. But just say no, it all came under the umbrella of what they call tsar balei chayim, which is unnecessarily causing suffering to any living animal.
No suffering.
You can't do it. It's interesting that even the laws of shechita, I myself am vegetarian, came up vegetarian, vegetarian for generations, whole different story. But the thing of this is that if you're going to eat kosher meat, it's not a simple matter in Judaism. It's much easier to be vegetarian. My friend Rabbi Herschel McNabb, his family's vegetarian. Donovan's vegetarian. A lot of Irish Jews are vegetarian. They even have this article. If you look it up, I can pull it up if you want, Doctor. It's called Heathen Vegan Jew Irish.
Yeah,
Irish Jews. It's on the internet. And, that simplifies the whole idea of kosher greatly. Now, that being said, Judaism certainly allows for the permissible to eat meat. When you eat meat, they say you're elevating the animal's nefesh. You're elevating its soul. Because why? You're using that energy to do mitzvot with it, to serve God.
Hopefully, yes.
And they have, throughout the entire Torah, ein simcha ela basar v'yayin. There's no joy without basar meat and yayin wine. Basar, what is it? Basar v'dagam royal melech, meat and fish are fit for a king. It's considered highly appropriate to have it on Shabbat for that reason.
Yeah.
Sabbath or on Chagim because, on Chagim except for Shavuot, because on Shavuot you're eating milchik. You're eating just dairy product. But it's considered, for Chagim, most holidays, like, you couldn't have a Pesach Seder without, of course, you have to have the zroa, the shank bone. Actually, it's an interesting thing. In my family, we actually used a piece of petrified wood to represent the zeroa, the shank bone. Because
really? Yeah. I mean, some people use a beet. That's very common.
It's only symbolic. I mean, it's not a But the point that I'm saying is that in Judaism, the idea of the ethical treatment of animals is, it's embedded throughout the entire Torah. And when you consider what it takes to do, okay, I want to have a piece of fruit. I'm passing by, I don't know, an apple tree or an orange tree or what. I pick the fruit, stick it in my mouth, make the bracha, right? Borei pray, stick it in my mouth, yeah, I'm good to go, right?
Yeah.
If I want to have a piece of meat, then I have to get a chalaf, a knife that's beli pagam, that can't have any nick in the blade whatsoever. I have to know the laws of shechita or find a sheichet, which is the ritual slaughterer, who knows how to properly perform the ritual of the act of slaughtering the animal to minimize the suffering.
Minimize the suffering of the animal.
It has to be slaughtered with a very minimum of suffering. And then after that, then as a matter of koshering the meat, you have to soak it and salt it. You have kosher salt. You have to cut. So it has to have no dung, no blood.
No blood.
No blood in it whatsoever.
Right.
And then it's a situation, so after you go through that, then there's all these laws of Teruvas Chalav Basar. You can't mix meat and milk. You have to have separate vessels for the meat and the milk. So, all I can
it's tell such a big production.
All I tell people is say, hey, Rabbi McLashley, why is it you and the McNabs? And we know many Irish Jews that are vegetarian. And what is up with that? And I said, because the Torah makes it such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And there must be a reason for that. The idea is that, yes, God permits you to eat meat, but if you're going to eat meat, you understand you're taking the life of something that God created, and it should be done very seriously, and to impress upon you that if you're going to do this, then don't have that animal die for nothing. Don't just cram it in your mouth to be mamale taiva, to stuff your stomach, and use it for a good purpose. Elevate the animal's nefesh. Elevate the animal's life force by doing good things with it.
This parsha eventually gets touches on that a little bit.
Yeah.
First, I want to address. Before I want to address, Duffy says in the chat, yes, You are right. You mentioned it in the chat, Duffy, that if you
Indigenous American, yeah, he's absolutely the indigenous Native Americans that actually apologize to the animal, and exactly,
yes,
it's very, very similar.
yes. Uh, and Duffy also said about making promises. Yes, it's an implied promise if you do it 3 times. If you do it 3 times, even if you don't say it, so it's right. If you go and you visit your parents on every Friday for 3 Fridays in a row, then it's an implied promise that you're going to visit them on the fourth night. So you have to be very careful. And this whole kol nidre thing, where these unintentional vows get erased, right? This is clearly not applicable to people who are having intentional vows. If two people sit down and they have a contract, right? And they've signed a contract, they've put their name on the contract, and they said, listen, for the next 10 years, I'm going to be your printer. It's going to cost you $10,000, but we're going to transfer the money this way and that way, and this is what's going to happen. That vow doesn't get erased because it's two people who sat down with clear intent to make a contract. So that vow, doesn't get wiped out by Coleman.
Yeah, Mark Gilmore, I said that he asked a question. There's petrified wood in Ireland. I just Google AI. Yes, Ireland has examples of petrified wood, primarily in the form of ancient tree stumps preserved in coastal areas.
Yeah.
And my family was from southern and western, Cork, Kerry, Mayo, Limerick, Donegal, Wexford. Anyway, preserved in coastal areas. It's one notable example of the. So yeah, we had this chunk of it was like a rock, really. You'd think it was a stone of petrified wood that we used to use in place of the zro. It was long, it was elongated, and we used to use that in the place of the zro, of the shank bone on Shabbat. I mean, on Pesach. So anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good question, though. Mark Gilmore asked that question. So I said, yeah, I guess a lot of people figure because it's boggy and wet and this and that. What, petrified? No, they have petrified.
They have it.
One time was full of trees. That's another story in history that, thanks to the Brits, it was deforestation occurred. I'll leave it at that.
So in this parsha, there's also, the laws of koshering utensils, which is what we were talking about. Not only do you have to kosher the animals and do it in the kosher way and da 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 da. Here's just so you know, if you ever need to purify your utensils, there it is. It's in Numbers 31, verse 21, and this is where Elliot they're talking about how how to make your utensils purified and kosher. Okay, so it's in there. It's in there. It's in there. Someone else asked, what about regular animals? They also have a nefesh. Do they come from the same origin of God's creation? So when they pass, would they go back to? I'm not sure I understand the question, but regular animals have a nefesh, and so do plants. So yeah.
That's what we were talking about. And there's a debate because in normative Judaism, most people will say animals have a nefesh, a life force, not a neshama, which is a soul. But in Kabbalah, they say no. Actually, that's what we were talking about. Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, right? Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, who is known as the Arizal. He's the final arbiter in all matters Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism. And he says, yes, animals do indeed have a soul and go to heaven. That's Chabad.org. Don't come after Dr. Jeremy or Rabbi McClash.
Yeah, exactly. So what else about this parsha do we want to talk about? Do we want to get to the request of the Reubenites and the Gadites? Do we call them Reubenites and Gadites? Or do we call them the people of Reuben and the people of God? I don't know what we call them. But all right, during this Parsha, okay, there is a request. You have to understand where we are now in the story. We are the tribe of Israel is sitting. They've got about 1 year to go. They're almost getting ready to get into the Holy Land, and they're hanging out outside, planning their invasions. They've conquered a couple of things here, and then just as they're really gonna go in, there's two tribes, the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Gad, and they go, I'm not sure we want to go, Moses. We've got, we are busy grazing our animals on the east side in Jordan, and the grass is just really good over here. And we have a lot more than the rest of the other tribes. We have a lot more animals that eat grass, so it's kind of better maybe if we don't go with you and we stay here. You think we could stay here, right? Which is like, if you can imagine Moshe Rabbeinu, right? The last time an analogous situation happened, God told everybody, listen, you're going to go and you're going to go to this land. We're going to take you out of Egypt, and you're just going to go right into this new holy land. I'm going to give you the word, the laws, and then you're going to go right into the land. But what happened was they instead sent a bunch of spies, and the spies were like, I don't know that we ought to go right now, and that caused that a little bit of a kerfuffle. It put doubt in people's minds, and that doubt, percolated its way through the Hebrew people, and they ended up deciding not to do what they were told to do. And of course, God gets very angry and says, you're out. You didn't do what I said. None of you get to go. You're going to die here. Maybe Moshe gets to go take a look, see, but that's all he's getting. And none of you all get to go. So you can imagine, like, Moshe Rabbeinu is like, they're like a year, they're like right about to get in, and now these two tribes, these two Matot, okay, come up to him, right, and they go like, yeah, I don't know that we should go. And so, how would you guys handle that? What do you think happens, or did you read it? Anyone? Oh, well, I'll tell you what happens. They have this discussion, of course, with Moses, and he tells them his concerns. He says, "Listen, if I don't let you go, if you don't have to go, then that's going to cause doubt. Everybody else is not going to want to go." So rather than, he's the leader, right? He could say, listen, I'm not listening to any of your nonsense. You're going. Okay, that's the end of it. All right? But he could do that. That's one response. But rather than that, he decides to tell them what his concerns are. And his concerns are that they're going to cause other people to lose their faith. And it's interesting, if you read their response very carefully, the response, this is where we get back into vows and oaths, right? They don't come back with like, well, what if we go and we fight, and we go with everybody, then can we have the land? They don't say that, which is what you would imagine they would say. But that's not what they say. What they say is, I'll tell you what, Moses, we're going to go and we're going to be on the front lines. We're going to be on the front lines. We're going to be the vanguard. We're going to be not just we hear your concern that we will inspire doubt, and we're not going to be those guys. We are going, and we're going to be the loudest, strongest. We're going to wear the t-shirts. We're going to wave the flags. We're going to be the #1 guys on the field. We're going. They don't say, and if we do that, will you give us the land? They just say that. They draw him close and they just say that. Now, interestingly, Moses says to them, if you do what you say you're going to do, it's on you. All right? He doesn't say, God will do blah, 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 blah. He says, it's up to you. It's between you and God. You'll know what you've done. Okay? You'll know. It's between you. And then what happens is he has to go to Moses has to go to the rest of the Israelites and tell them this deal. And interestingly, to me, my reading of this retelling of the deal is completely different. I don't know if you've noticed this, Rabbi, or if it's been discussed. I'm sure it has been. But when Moshe Rabbeinu goes to the rest of the Israelites and he's tells them what the Reubenites and Gadites want to do, there is where he says, if they do what they say they're going to do, we'll give them that land. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's because now he's put in a different position. He's put in the position of being, I want to say, the convincer or the leader, whereas before he's in the position of being, there's this aspect of being drawn close, where that it's something that is less of a contract, but it's more of a promise that you take into your heart, I would say. A belief in a trust, I would say. Would you characterize it in this way?
That sounds like the correct way. I was just checking out something with Chabad, but I mean, I think what you're saying is more in sync with the way I'd see it than what I'm reading here, honestly.
Mark Gilmore says, I've heard it said that the old generation has to pass away for the old ways to pass with them. That's absolutely.
Yeah, Mark Gilmore is on top of things, because that's the whole idea of during the Yetziat Mitzrayim, the Exodus from Egypt. That was the whole idea of, some of the commentators. Now, not everyone agrees with what I'm about to say, but the idea is when they were coming out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, they were coming mebet avadim, from the house of bondage. They had a slave mentality. I mean, the Jews in Egypt were just used to basically being slaves. And, that mentality of subservience, being subjugated, they had developed a mentality of subservience. And that mentality was not going to translate well to a tribe of people that now were being called upon to embark on a journey that would lead to self-governance, because that subservient mentality, that slave mentality, had to dissipate or be removed. It had to die out before they were capable of self-governance. And That's what you were saying, Mark Elmo. And I was going to say that I read comments because I mean I get all these great comments, and I like to just include as many people as I can.
Yeah, Rob Wallen points out the Reubenites keep wanting out. They were the people who got swallowed up in by the earth.
Yeah. Oh, it was Donald McDuffie that said, yeah, about last year. God, Reb McDuffie, you have Zechira, which is a tremendous memory. You have a great memory. You remember what I said last year? I mean, I don't remember when my wife told me to take out the garbage after lunch. I didn't do it. What? I don't know. Yes.
Well, these parshas, we record them, and maybe they.
Well, anyway, yeah, you're right. If you do something 3 times, it's called a chazaka. And a chazaka means like it's kind of momentum. After the thing is done 3 times, it's a chazaka. It's established. And you know, everyone can actually implement in their lives. You know, like you have something that you know, a good habit that you want to cultivate. The first time you do it is really difficult. The second time, less so. The third time, you establish a chazaka, like a momentum. If let's say, for example, you want to, I don't know, exercise or go jogging 10 minutes in the morning, okay? You know, do that. Like, you do it the first time, you force yourself to, but after you've done it the third time, the third morning, then it's like a chazak. It becomes easier. It's downhill from there. You know, you can use that in your own life. You know, that you what do they call it? You kind of you acclimate, right, to doing something. You become acclimated. So you know, that's something that we can put into practice with a chazaka. Daniel McDuffie said about the you do something 3 times, it's considered like a promise or a vow. But actually, the idea of chazaka, take it beyond that to give it a practical application. Take something in your life, something that you want to do. Like I said, it might be exercising, it might be calling your mother, it might be whatever it is. And you say, oh, it's difficult, or you forget to do it, and this and that. Try it. By the time you do it the third time, you've established a chazaka. It becomes easier after that. So anyway.
Yeah. Brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth.
Yeah, any of that stuff. It's good. It is. Some habits are good to create. Absolutely.
But you know, I mean, my wife still has to tell me to take out the garbage. It doesn't work. I mean, ow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You dumb Irish Jew, you forgot to take out the garbage again. I should have married a Polish Jew.
Well, so they talk about, you know, okay. Oh, let's get, should we jump to the exciting, to what happens with, we have intentional murder? Do we want to skip all the way over there? It's 540.
Well, yeah, there's the
cities of
refuge. The Gemara goes into this. They give all these different types of things in the Gemara. Is that if someone commits shvichas damim or gili orai, I mean shvichas damim or ritzichas is murder, ritzichas, or shvichas damim, which means to shed blood. If you do it b'mezid, you do it intentionally. But there's another category. What if they go into b'shoigeg? It's done unintentionally, or it's einus. It's a complete and total accident. And where they're going into this is that when a person can go to the Ari Miklat, which they go into later on, the cities of refuge. You know, the cities of refuge will only work is if a person did it b'shoigeg or it was einus, an accident. And the idea is unintentionally, let's say, for example, just as an example, I'm chopping wood. Okay, I'm chopping wood. There's someone in back of me. I don't even know there's someone in back of me. But I'm chopping wood, and the handle flies off my axe, flies up in the air, and whack, right on top of his head. Okay, guy's dead. Now they have what they call the Gael Adam, the blood avenger. He can come after my tuchas. He can come after my worthless Irish mahon, which is a Gaelic word. I won't translate it. It means your arse. He can come after my sorry Irish arse, and he can, you know, put the kibosh to me. Well, wait a minute. I didn't even know the guy was in back of me. And unless he was British or French Canadian, I wouldn't. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But, you know, he's in back of me. I didn't even know. I mean, why could the Goyal Adam, why could the Blood Avenger come after me?
So why did they need to establish these 3 cities?
Well, I asked the rabbis that in
It
yeshiva.
seems logical to me that you would just forgive the person.
Yeah,
Why?
it seemed logical, but they said, you know what? The Torah acknowledges human nature. Human nature is the such. This, like I said, if I accidentally killed somebody, this worthless Irish ass son of a killed my brother or killed my nephew or killed my what? But I didn't even know he was in back of me. I mean, I didn't know the handle was going to fly off my axe, the blade, this, that. That was, you know.
All right. So let's read it. It says, Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you cross the Jordan, okay, to the land of Canaan,
Right.
you shall designate some cities for yourselves. Cities of refuge shall be for you, and a murderer shall flee there. One who takes the life unintentionally, okay, by accident, okay.
That's shogeg.
The cities shall be for you a refuge from the avenger, okay, so the guy who's really angry. You know, you killed a daughter by accident, so the father's coming to get you, so that the murderer will not die until he stands before the assembly for judgment. So it's only a place of refuge until they have a trial.
Right.
Aha. So that's interesting. So it's really like a penal colony, almost.
Kind of. Right. It's like it's literally a sanctuary where they can't. In other words, they can't implement vigilante justice.
Okay. So and it says, as to the cities that you shall designate, there shall be 6 cities of refuge for you. 3 cities shall you designate on the other side of the Jordan, and 3 cities you shall designate in the land of Canaan. And they shall be cities of refuge. The children of Israel and the proselyte and resident among them shall these 6 cities be a refuge for anyone who kills a person unintentionally to flee there. I find it very interesting. So now they go on to intentional murder. Okay? If he struck him with an iron implement and he died, he's a murderer. If the murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if a hand seized a stone by which one could die, and he did strike him and he died, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he struck him with a hand-sized wooden implement through which one could die, and he died, he's a murderer, and the murderer shall surely be put to death. So any intentional, it's bad. The avenger of the blood, he shall kill the murderer. When he encounters him, he shall kill him. If he pushed him out of hatred or hurled upon him from ambush and he died, or in enmity struck him with his hand and he died, the assailant shall surely be put to death. He is a murderer, and the avenger of the blood shall kill the murderer when he encounters him. But can I go on to the next part, which is the next part talks about, again, goes back to unintentional murder. I don't think I need to read it.
I have a question. I have a question for you, Doctor.
Yes.
My question is this. Unintentional, and they make a difference. There's a fine line between what they call b'shogeg and b'ones. But b'shogeg is unintentional. Ones is completely accidental. But they're closely related. I don't know if I remember correctly from yeshiva, and don't hold me to this, but I like b'shogeg, to an example, maybe I take my axe and I'm chopping wood, and then pulling it back, the axe back, I hit someone in the head. Okay, that's b'shogeg. That's unintentional. Ones goes beyond that. The handle, the axe blade flies off the handle, flies up into the air, and comes down and hits the guy in the head. That's Ines. That's a total accident. There's no way that could possibly could have.
So one is kind of neglect.
One would be negligence. Yeah, one is kind of negligence. The other is things that are completely beyond factors beyond my control. Okay.
Yeah, right. It's totally you're driving your car, the steering wheel comes off.
Right.
You know
the Gaelag Dam is like what they call a rodef. A rodef in Hebrew is someone who pursues. So he can pursue the person right up, and as a matter of fact, they used to have people that would gather at the gates of the Are Miklat. Just in case somebody wanted to escape to the Are Miklat, let's say, for example, somebody, Chas v'shalom, killed someone's relative, brother, mother, father, a dog, whatever. Not dog, but, kill whatever. They'd actually wait for them at the gates of the Are Miklat, of the cities of the Ir Miklat, of the city of refuge, just in case they were trying to escape there. And that was something that they would that they would have. It was mentioned, I don't know, I saw it somewhere, I think in Chabad.org, that it was that they would have people actually waiting at the gates. And they had to be, in all of the cities of refuge, they had to have very clear instructions as to how to get to the Are Miklat. I mean, it was like signposts with arrows, the equivalent of like Las Vegas.
This way.
The signs pointing your way to, the casino or whatever. They had, it was clearly, clear instructions each step of the way on how to reach the city of refuge, posted all over the place. City of refuge this way. And why? Because the guy, the person had to move fast. He couldn't get confused. He couldn't stop and check his GPS or ask for instructions. Okay?
Right.
that didn't work.
It's tough to ask for directions. Right. By the way, do you know where the city of refuge is? Yeah. Oh, what are you looking for? Why? Why do you want to know?
Right. So the idea was that they had clear instructions posted all over the place, so that anybody, even if they weren't familiar with the area, would be able to find the city of refuge. It was, it was just posted all over the place. Like, where's the bathroom at Yankee Stadium?
Now, now the question I'm going to have, because I'm not familiar with probably the Talmudic descriptions of what was going on, but I can imagine that within the city of refuge, you also have people who are like the Sakari, who are going to be paid killers to people who, so it's still going to be a dangerous place. I wonder if they had police, or what's the word? Chateau, what's the word for police? Chateau?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'd have to check that out.
Yeah.
The modern Hebrew word for police, my knowledge of Hebrew is confined to Gemara, Mishnah, Aramaic, that type of, biblical Hebrew. Modern Hebrew is not. Actually, if you look it up, Hiberno, Hiberno, is actually the language of Irish Jews. Anyone can look it up. Type it in Google.
Yes,
Hiberno, the language of Irish Jews. Type in the whole thing. Hiberno, the language of Irish Jews.
Well, that's because Ireland was Hibernia.
Hibernia came from the word Hibernia. The original name for Ireland meant land of the Hebrews.
Land of the Hebrews.
Hibernia meant land of the Hebrews, and ancient documents recorded that the original occupants of Ireland were Hebrews. And I look at all my fellow Irish Jews. Look, I know my family's Jewish. I know I went to yeshiva. I know Rabbi Levitansky, Zichron Tzaddik Livracha, the chief Pesach Chabad, did my wedding, and so I know completely I'm Jewish. But Irish Jews claiming descent from the tribe of Dan, really? How long would we last in a desert? Asking that. Really? I'm just saying.
Someone says,
we glow in the dark,
okay, so Julio asks a very important question in the chat, but it's about a different crime, right? A sexual immorality.
Right.
and that's treated differently than murder, and it has its own justice process.
Right. No, they have like a place of refuge for people that commit acts of sexual immorality. It was actually an island. I think it was called Lolita's Island. No, I'm just kidding.
It's Ibiza. Currently, no, yeah. Or maybe Burning Man. Yeah, or Epstein. Someone says Epstein's Island. Yes. Okay. Very good.
Epstein's Island, right? This
Yeah.
guy gets it.
Yeah.
I was like, this Jeffrey Epstein. I give alt. I mean,
Yeah. 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 Well, so it's these two parshas, I think, there's also a covering of tribal intermarriage, right? They discuss that, and I believe is that where the daughters show up again?
Yeah. I have another question, though, Doctor.
Okay.
If just in case of murder that they go to the Ari Miklat, it's an interesting question. What if somebody, chas v'shalom, raped my sister or my daughter or my mother?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I want to go after the SOB and take, I want to grab my shillelagh and do some creative work on his skull.
Of course.
Why doesn't the Ari Miklat? Why is it Dafka murder? Why doesn't they include maybe rape?
Well, I think that the penalty for sexual immorality does include death, right? Those are the three things, right?
Yeah.
Idolatry, sexual immorality, and murder, and those are
Those are the three biggies that But the thing of this is that, let's say, for example, you would have a situation where there is doubt. Okay, where there is doubt. That's the whole situation with murder. B'shogeg, and we were talking about b'shogeg, unintentional. What if there's a situation where it's doubt? Someone, circumstantial evidence might point to someone having committed, chas v'shalom, something really horrible, like rape.
Or, you have to err on the side of not hurting someone. I mean,
but the thing is that if it's nogea b'davar with murder, why isn't nogea b'davar with? In other words, it's relevant to the concept of murder. My concept is it should be equally relevant to the concept where there's some doubt as to something of rape or, really horrible sexual crimes that are really detestable. There should be, what I'm saying is there's an uncertainty, there's a doubt. Why could they go to the Ari Miklat, the Ira Miklat? They could go because it's like, well, was it accidental? Was it unintentional? Was there something like that? Extenuating circumstances, and that's for murder. But I'm saying the same thing could apply to sexual immorality because somebody who was innocent of committing rape, but let's say, for example, they came across mistaken identity or whatever. And then the person's accused of something that they're totally innocent of. And there's some doubt. Somebody says, like they have witnesses. Oh, yeah, that's the guy. The other witness says, I'm not sure. And the third witness, no, you got the wrong guy. And there's an element of doubt there. It would seem to me they should also have the right to go to a city of refuge until the situation is resolved in a court.
They don't have that right to go to a city.
They do by cases of rape or something or immorality or adultery or something like that. I don't.
I would have to. I don't know. I'd have to look that up.
That's what I'm going to research as soon as we're finished here. I want to research to find out. Is it only Dafka murder, or because they're, like you pointed out, there are three cases of avodah zarah, shvichas damim, and gili arayah. The three biggies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Idolatry, avodah zarah, shvichas damim, murder, and gili arayah, acts of sexual immorality, which doesn't only include rape, can include incest, can include any of the forbidden relations, relations that are forbidden in the Torah, which is basically, various familial relationships, family members that, you can't marry, you can't have relations with, and Gili Orion, of course, Aishat Ish, a married woman, anyone who's French Canadian, and that's about it, But I'm going to keep picking on French Canadians. I don't know why. I love them, but they're so much fun to pick on. They're great. I know some French Canadians. They're all wonderful people.
I'm going to talk, because you keep doing that, I'm going to tell you that it's very dangerous, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You're going to manifest them. And when my whole past 2 decades, okay, since my children were born, whenever I was talking and I wanted to say a random name, just funny, or if I wanted to, I was that Joe over there, or that whatever, I would use with my kids. I would use the word Howard, and Howard became kind of our funny shorthand. This Howard over here, or Howard blah blah blah,
right.
Or I ran into Howard, and my father passed away, and my mother met a new gentleman who has been in her life for a decade now, who I love very much. His name is Howard. I conjured Howard.
I don't mind if I manifest French Canadians, because actually all the ones I know are wonderful people, and I love them dearly. I just like ragging on them, But I don't care if I manifest French Canadians. All the ones I know are just fantastic people, but I just like ragging on them.
Yeah.
The Citizens of Refuge were specific. I'm reading a comment here, a very pertinent and scholarly comment from Mr. Neil Thomas. AI
Yes.
An ancient Israelite law, as described in the Torah and elaborated upon in the Talmud. The Ari Miklat were specifically designed for individuals who committed shogeg, unintentional homicide. It had to be shogeg or oinus. It couldn't have been bemazed. If it was bemazed as intentional homicide, it didn't work. Their purpose was to protect such individuals from the goel adam, the blood of enemies, the victim's next of kin, until a fair trial could be held. If found guilty, the person would remain in the city of refuge until the death of the Kohen Gadol. That's right. He would remain in the city of refuge until the death of the Kohen Gadol, if they were found guilty. So it was basically they were in prison until the death.
It's a penal colony. It was a place.
My question is that, you know what? And my question is that I had that question in yeshiva. What if the Kohen Gadol was a 98-year-old guy with emphysema? All right.
Right.
Who kicks the bucket in 2 days?
Right. Or a 40-year-old.
And what? The guy walks. The guy walks out. I'm going to be there with my shillelagh again. What does it solve, right? I'm saying, hey, no. You don't get off that easy, you SOB. You hooligan. But anyway, rape, however, as Mr. Thomas correctly points out, was considered a different category of crime entirely and did not qualify for the Ari Miklat. And Mr. Neil Thomas, you're absolutely right. Good job. My question is,
why?
WTF? Why not?
Yeah, why? Because it's part. That's what Rabbi is asking here. Why? Because we have those 3 crimes are considered to be equivalently repugnant. So why is there a difference? We don't know the answer.
I got to research it. I'm sure somebody is going to comment on this. I just got to research it and find out. But it's a really good question. Yeah,
it is. It's a fantastic question. Probably, maybe Joseph Caro knows.
Joseph Caro, the codifier of the Shulchan Aruch. That was the first for dummies book, incidentally. The Shulchan Aruch. It basically just took everybody's opinion, sort of like
Jewish law for dummies, right?
Yeah, that's really what it was.
Oh my gosh!
He invented the For Dummies series.
Yeah. Okay, so it's 6:01, which is wonderful. We've made it through a wonderful hour. I will, of course, post this on YouTube for those that didn't get a chance to watch it. We had up to 40 people here, which was terrific, and I want to thank each and every one of you. We don't have Ma'ariv service tomorrow, But after tomorrow, we're going to start doing it weekly with Chazani Tiferet, because they've been so beautiful, and so people have been asking for them. And so that will start not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Now, before a week from tomorrow, right before is Sunday, this coming Sunday, we're going to have Parsha and the paranormal. And some guy is talking about it. I don't know who's going to be talking about. Do you know who is going to be talking about Parsha and the paranormal, Rabbi?
Rabbi David McClashley is going to be hosting the paranormal and the Parsha, and we are going to be covering everything that they ever covered in the X-Files and then some. We are going to be covering ghosts, specters, apparitions, as mentioned in the Tanakh, okay? I'm going to go in there. You know, a famous example in the Tanakh of a ghostly manifestation or apparition, specter. Dibuk, dibuk, a mazik. What's the difference between an ibur, a dibuk, a mazik? We're going to be tackling in future, after this week, the first one is going to be on specters and apparitions and ghostly manifestations. We're also going to be tackling in futures NDEs, near-death experiences, and Judaism's approach to NDEs, near-death experiences. Vampires, werewolves, yes, that's in the Torah. Binyamin was considered a werewolf. And you read Sefer Hasidim, we're going to be dealing with everything, aliens, Bigfoot, French Canadians, you name it. It's going to be really exciting. And
weekly series, a weekly series on Sunday, 5 p.m. At a regular time. All right.
If you like X-Files and you like the spooky, the weird, the bizarre, and the just bat guano crazy, you're gonna love this.
Wonderful. Well, should we end with the famous line, Chazek?
Chazak, need Chazek.
Amen, amen. Be strong, and may we all be strengthened, everyone, and may we strengthen each other and draw strength from each other, and may we give each other strength in times of need. So, Lila Tov, everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your support, and we will see you hopefully on Sunday for Parsha and the paranormal, and then after that for regular Parsha, and after that weekly Ma'ariv, and we're off and running.
Sounds great.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Much success to everyone. Bracha, blessing, gesund, mazel, krake, an Irish word, means good spirit.
Hatzlacha. Yeah.
Be well.
Be well.